I went to Tardy's Collector's Corner today.
Oh, yeah?
On a rare appearance. Me and middle child went, got a couple things. I bought like almost all new stuff, all new books. That was so weird to me.
At full price?
At full price.
Inflated comics price today.
In my mind, I went, okay, the new Justice League versus the Legion of Superheroes is out, number 2. It was out a couple weeks ago. I need to go get it because I'm a completionist. Bendis. And then,
yeah.
So once I got there, I went, oh, okay, let's see what else is available. I heard good things about a book called One Star Squadron from DC Comics. You know, I'm a big fan of All Star Squadron, so I wondered what One Star Squadron was about. So I bought the first 2 issues of that. There's a couple more that are out, but I figured if I don't like the first 2, I'm not gonna get any more. I think the premise is, and I was talking to the owner of Tardy's, Gavin, and he was saying it's kind of a work for hire business. Like, you can hire out a superhero for a day. Certain known heroes work for this company that the Red Tornado is running. I'm not sure if he made it or he's just in charge of it or something, but it's kind of a work for hire, heroes for hire. DC got Batman Superman World's Finest #1, written by Mark Waid. So I'm looking forward to that one.
Nice.
And then I strayed from my DC Marvel ways. I think the podcast is influencing me a little bit. And
looking for alternative reads.
I'm starting
Spandex not required.
Right. I'm starting to think, okay, what else can I read besides this DC and Marvel stuff? So I had read 2 issues of this series already and enjoyed it digitally. I read it and I thought, okay, there's volume 1, book 1 of Something is Killing the Children. Heard good things about it. All my friends are saying, yeah, it's really great. So I got the book 1 hardcover edition. It's got the first 15 issues.
Wow.
So I'm looking forward to that. We might do it for the podcast. I don't know.
What? A preamble to something to come? Things to come?
Right? And it's not DC or Marvel? What is going on?
I don't know you anymore.
Right.
Away, you foul beast.
I blame you. What are you talking about?
Yeah. How many times do you think you're going to have to read Something that's Killing the Children?
Probably 3 or 4. And then once for the podcast.
You're listening to And This Is Why I Love Comics.
Andy and Mike!
And welcome to another episode of And This Is Why I Love Comics. I'm Andy.
This is Michael.
And we are here again for your ear holes. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us again. We appreciate you picking our podcast to listen to. We know there's a lot of options for you, and we're glad we're one of them, I think.
Hopefully top of the list.
Top of the order.
We already did our gaming podcast.
Right, yeah, that's true. That's Roll Initiative.
I'm having flashbacks, Andy.
No.
Talk me back down.
Hi, Mike. How's your day?
Actually, the day went better. The week's been kind of chaotic. I've been without a car for a while. I had, out of the sheer generosity and the niceness of my heart, which is one of those surprising moments that I actually acknowledge the fact that I might have one. I got rid of my car so that my brother-in-law could get wheels to get to and from work. So I've been without a car, but I was, in a position where I could actually work from home if I needed to. That big of a sacrifice, but it's amazing how when you come to the realization that you don't have a car and a means to get around on your own, and there's no easy conveyance around here, there's no public transport or anything like that, kind of tough to kind of think about life of like, well, I can't go anywhere. I can get on a bike, I guess, and ride somewhere, but that's not likely going to happen. I'm almost a teenager again, where it's like, hey, can I borrow the wheels? I'll put gas in the tank if you let me just borrow just for this afternoon. So yeah, it felt really, really weird to be without. You get really, really accustomed to how your vehicle handles and subtle and not so subtle nuances. I mean, this one, the brakes were starting to become problematic and stuff. And I affectionately called it the Beast because it just kept on plugging away, even though its life expectancy had long since gone. And so it's like, okay, that's fine. But I did get a new car. So today I got a new car. So
it's a 1985 Omni.
Yes. Cars that are perfect for clipping pedestrians. The aspect of getting this car has now made me a little bit more like, so buying things, anything else is going to be a little problematic because it's like, I just spent a crud of money on this car. And now I'm like, do I want to buy cars? Do I want to buy more toys? Do I want to buy? And it puts things into perspective a little bit more than I was anticipating. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, don't know. But it's like, whew, comics, cars aren't cheap. And I still go back to the adage of, at one point, especially when comics were at the, dollar price point, when cover price was $1, it was really easy to judge things by how many comics that would have been. It's like, what? That thing's like $35. I could have got 35 comics for that. And, comics was more of a currency, at least to me, for a long time there, where I could gauge things by how many comics I could have owned instead of whatever that item was. And, it's like, let's go out to eat. Oh, man, that was a $10 meal. I could have bought 10 comics instead of having that meal, something that I, eat and will dispose of, wink, wink, later.
I still do that with maps and stuff. Don't tell me how to get there. Just include where the closest comic store is, and I'll go, oh, okay, I know where that is. So I still use that. I use it as a measurement of travel time. Oh, that's close to Tardy's. Okay, that's Lang's. Okay, that's a 45-minute drive. Take a left.
Yeah. So, yeah. Comics have ingrained themselves so much in our lives at this point that we're both come up, there's the metric system, there is the imperial standard system, and then there's the comic book metric. We've really come a long way in our understanding of what, the world is based on our understanding of the world of comics.
Wasn't there a Bruce Willis movie where they could time it based off of old crooner songs that they were robbing stores and stuff.
Hudson Hawk.
Yeah, I do the same thing. That's 3 Hawkmans and an atom.
Yeah, exactly. You're looking at it, it's like, well, if that were a unit of measure,
if time was measured in days instead of weeks, or weeks instead of days.
Man,
I think that was our first Star Trek quote. No, it wasn't, because you talked about Deep Space Nine before. False alarm.
We thought we hit a milestone. It only took 18 episodes.
Only 18 episodes
to get to a Star Trek point of reference. Zachary Quinto, I'll give him credit. He did a great job as Spock, but he tried to bring gravitas to that situation. Spock being emotionless and he's, yelling out. And it's like, dude, you only knew him from one movie prior to this. So what real connection? And you duked it out. You guys had, full-blown fisticuffs going during that first movie. So you didn't really build any sort of true connection. This is your second movie. Now, granted, there may have been adventures that they quote unquote had in between movies, but for a viewer, you had no real chemistry between those actors.
Yeah. That movie was worth watching just for the actor who did Bones and how accurate and fun he was.
Karl
Urban.
Karl Urban. Yeah. He's totally, I wouldn't say an overlooked actor, but the stuff he's done is always like the highlight of it.
Yeah.
You look at Sylvester Stallone's Dredd and Karl Urban as Dredd. It's like, I've watched Karl Urban's Dredd with fascination. I watched Stallone's Dredd fixated. It's like, this is a glorious mess. I am the law. That movie is so bad. Even Rob Schneider was tapped to try to make this movie like, oh yeah, we got to do something. Who's going to make this movie a little bit more tolerable? But yeah, the Karl Urban Dredd movie was fantastic. It felt like Dredd. It looked like Dredd. It
tasted like Dredd. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. All 5 senses were engaged.
It smelled like Dredd.
Yeah. Yeah, because it was. I mean, he did such a great job. And then, his bones in the Star Trek ones, the character I can't remember his name, Arth, maybe that's his name in The Boys, completely kind of like melts into the character.
Well, and he's in everything. I mean, Lord of the Rings, last episode, it was Star Wars. Now we're talking Star Trek. What's next? Blade Runner? I don't know. Babylon 5.
Yeah, we'll talk about David Lynch's Dune.
I haven't seen the new one.
I've not either. I don't know. There's something about that original Dune, as much as some people malign it. Crap, I enjoyed every minute of it. It was so... you couldn't tell whether it was like serious, or is this just another David Lynch kind of like making a joke, or what's going on with this movie? And crap, I loved every minute of that movie. So to see this new one, and it's the cinematography looked amazing, the set pieces, the design, everything, looked stellar. But there's just something about that David Lynch approach that just wasn't there. There's something really felt alien with David Lynch's approach than with this new one. This new one looks kind of like well produced and almost quasi-documentary style. Yeah. I will kill him. That in anything. Sting's performance was as over the top as they could be. That was a good movie. Crap, now I'm wanting to watch it again.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in a long time, so I'd have to rewatch, and I'm not sure I ever made it through the entire movie. I remember bits and pieces, falling asleep at times, similar to 2001: A Space Odyssey. I remember watching it, or planning to watch it, but I don't remember ever seeing the entire movie all the way through.
I did watch the documentary, not to go completely off the rails on this thing, but...
Oh, we're already off the rails. I don't know what you're talking about.
There was never rails to begin with.
Right.
We gave an introduction, and that was...
We're lucky we got through the intro.
And who are we again? But I watched the documentary about Jodorowsky's, I think that's how you pronounce the guy's name. He was going to do Dune back in the, 60s, 70s, somewhere around in there. And he was going to throw every ounce of his fortune, his money, making this movie. And hired the best of the best he could find. Had like Mobius, that French comic artist,
the vampire,
do a lot of production. Yeah. Mobius and Morbius met in the woods one night. Mobius did a lot of like concept work, and I can't remember who did all the ship designs, but it was another like famous sci-fi illustrator. Did a lot of
Geiger.
stuff.
Was it Geiger?
Yeah, he was in there as well, but it was some other guy. I can't remember his name, but in any event, Salvador Dali was going to be the emperor.
Oh, nice.
And I know like John Lennon wanted to be part of it.
And Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah, don't you know me? But that's neither here nor there, because we're talking comics. And
we are? Yeah, we do have a book that we decided to read and review, and it's not DC or Marvel again. I know, it was shocking, but this is our first one from Dark Horse. That comic company, Dark Horse.
Yeah, back in the day, they were a powerhouse because they really understood the importance of licensing, and they tapped into every license possible.
Everything they could, yeah, that's for sure.
Predator, Alien, Terminator was like kind of those three were amongst
Star
the first.
Wars.
And then Star Wars kicked in, and they had some other, big licenses, and they all kind of went away until there's not much left. It's basically the house that Mignola made at this point. His Hellboy is now done, so it's like, what else do they have? And I can't, for the life of me, think of any other comics that they are doing.
Yeah, it's too bad, too, because just like Vertigo for DC, with the demise of Dark Horse, you really have to turn to Image to have anything Boom or IDW. Is that still around? I'm not sure. Those guys are all that remains of something other than the mainstream.
Like I said, I still have, I think it was all 6 issues, if not 12 issues. I think there was only 6 of Propeller Man.
I have issue 1.
You were wiser than I. You realized, this was it.
I may not have that anymore. I'm not sure. I know I had it.
Get rid of it, because I'm trying to think about that now. It's like, how do I unload these issues?
It's probably in a booth somewhere in my dollar comic bin.
Do you think Kevin would be interested?
Hey, Kevin, here's a comic for you.
This is going to be a hot title. You like turtles?
Right.
Think about Propeller Man.
For $15, you too can own this issue. I'm sorry. Did I say 15? I meant 30.
It is a 6-issue. It's limited series. My comic collecting, especially at that era, the more offbeat it could be, the more I was interested in it. From the Grant Morrison's Doom Patrol and its Dadaism. I gotta buy all these. And then Shade the Changing Man, anything from Vertigo, and then anything from Dark Horse. I done tried to grow up, and then that kind of went
That's
away.
me right now, trying to grow up.
So growing up, one of the things that we kind of came full circle on was our passion as everybody in the 70s was all Star Wars.
Star Wars.
Were there
Star Wars.
laser swords?
And the sand, it gets in everything.
Poor Hayden Christensen. He means well. I will give him that. He means well.
Yeah.
He may not do well, but he means well. You can really see somebody trying, and it's like, you just feel like, that's good for them. What is it? Like, some people are born great, some people are made great, and some people have greatness thrust upon them. That never happened with Hayden Christensen. He's still waiting.
Now we're gonna have a debate when Obi-Wan comes out and how great he is.
Yeah.
Ewan McGregor. I mean, not.
Yeah, that dude. There's 2 movies that I'll watch. One is critically acclaimed.
Big Fish.
Yeah. I kind of enjoy that. I mean, Tim Burton had long since, lost his luster by that time that movie came out. No, Moulin Rouge, I will watch that almost without fault. I will watch that movie.
Really?
And I don't know why. I think it's the soundtrack is what got me on
And
that
you don't
one.
like Phantom Menace?
At least here, Baz Luhrmann made it intentionally campy. I don't think George Lucas intentionally wanted episode 2 and 3.
I'm shocked because
He succeeded.
I'm as shocked as when my dad told me that he loved Mamma Mia.
Now that I will say, no, pass.
I mean, I just said, "Oh, great, that's great, Dad." And so I will say the same to you. That's great, Mike. That's great. I'm glad you like Moulin Rouge.
Yeah, I just don't know why that one is. I don't know if it was just the circumstances or something happened, but I got the soundtrack before I got the movie, so the movie just was an added bonus. So it was really the soundtrack. The other end of the spectrum was a movie that was a complete box office poison, and that was Down with Love, and it was with Renee Zellweger before the surgery. So she was still recognizable.
Right.
And
Ewan McGregor, huh?
Yep. And it was kind of this, like, it has some issues. I will not say that it's perfect, but it has
like Phantom Menace.
It was only confused, not problematic, but it was confused by whether it wanted to be paying, homage to 1960s movies or if it was parodying 1960s movies. It kind of kept shifting in and out where it's like, boy, this feels like it could have come right out of the 1960s, the Doris Day, Rock Hudson era. But then there were moments where it was like way over the top, like they were trying to make fun of those movies. And then it would drift back as if it were one of those movies. And it was just, that was a little disjointed in its approach. But Ewan McGregor does a fantastic job in that movie. Plays up this 1960s kind of quote unquote womanizer. And, Renee Zellweger was fair enough in the movie. So with that said, I do enjoy a good Ewan McGregor movie. I have a hard time with Train Spotting, but I'm hoping that, Obi-Wan does well for him. And just he'll see what happens with the other cast
These
members.
are the strangest. I'm writing down what we talk about, and these are the strangest notes ever. Propeller Man, Magic 8 Ball, Star Trek, Ewan McGregor, Dark Horse.
Show notes are going to be kind of convoluted.
Yeah.
Like, basically, we put a bunch of random words in a basket, and we just pulled them out and seeing who could have the most of their words that they had selected said by the other person.
We programmed a computer to make a podcast, and this is what it...
Yeah.
No, this is great because we're talking about Star Wars, and it's a Star Wars episode. I mean, come on.
Exactly. Nice segue.
I'm not even sure we've mentioned what book we're reading yet. Have we?
Not in the least.
Well, we've said Dark Horse.
Only even that doesn't really narrow the playing field much.
But this is kind of like the birth of a new Star Wars. This was like the big comic series that Dark Horse did for Star Wars. It is Star Wars Dark Empire. And I know there was a sequel, Star Wars Dark Empire 2, and there was a Empire's End. I used to own all those. But Star Wars Dark Empire came out in December of 91 and went 6 issues. So it went to October because it was bi-monthly. I have the trade. What do you have? The original series or the original pamphlets?
I have the original one somewhere. I went to the local library and got probably one of the most beat up, I don't know how many bathrooms this particular publication has. Whoever got this book at some point basically opened up every page and just laid it flat.
Oh,
and then
monsters.
Laid it flat. I know. There are people who can tell you the vintage of a fine wine. There's people who can tell you Ernest Hemingway was when he was writing, The Old Man and the Sea, and there is a certain way you handle comic books. I'm like that with a comic, and when I see people who just swill their comics and just bend the covers back, like roll them right around to the back of. It's like, oh my goodness, what have you done? And this comic has been, I like to say, well-loved would be a positive way to say it, but I do feel that this particular edition, shortly after it was released.
It's the well-loved edition? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. So this is never going to go into a slab because I don't think the comic grading
goes that low.
Encapsulating. Yeah. I don't think they offer negative numbers on the grading.
It's a negative 6.5.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing this one in. It's like,
there's not one positive thing about this book.
When half the cover is missing and then they've taped it with like packing tape to hold the rest of the cover together, you got a quality book here. Yeah, before we dive too far in, I wanted to talk about one of the most distinctive aspects of this, and that's got to be Cam Kennedy's artwork. So, as being a comic artist back in the day, I have to ask you, what do you think of Cam Kennedy's art?
Yeah, we haven't gone over the... I'm stalling. This is me stalling. I haven't gone over the who did what. Tom Veitch was the writer. Cam Kennedy did the pencils and the inks. Todd Klein did the lettering. Cam Kennedy did the colors. And Dave Dorman did most of the cover. Cam Kennedy, this isn't the first time that I encountered Cam Kennedy's art. That was in a little Dark Horse miniseries called The Light and Darkness War, a 6-issue, I think, miniseries that he did, and I loved every minute of that, and I'm not sure why, because I don't remember the story being that great, although maybe that'll be something we can read later.
I thought that was actually published by Epic Comics, wasn't it?
Yes, yep, I think you're right. And I think that's what drew Dark Horse's attention to that art team, and they said, hey, why don't you try to do a Star Wars story? And then this is what they came up with. I already liked his artwork before I saw it in Dark Empire, and seeing his Dark Empire artwork, I love it. I'm not sure... It certainly doesn't fit my profile of type of art that I like, but I think he's very talented. Everything. I like his Boba Fett a lot. I like his use of ships. Now, it's not the standard, what I would think a Star Wars book should have, but I think in this case it worked really well. I don't want to say he drew odd things well, but he drew odd things well, and then his imagination really used the backgrounds, his ships. They looked very close to what I wanted them to look like. My only issue with his art probably is how identical and close some of his characters look. Like, I had a hard time sometimes with Han and Luke on who was what. When it got really close to their faces, I'm thinking, who is this? Is this Han or Luke? And of course the dialogue helped with that, but it was a little confusing confusing at times. I'm not sure I loved his Princess Leia, but
With the slick back hair.
with the slick back hair, yeah. But
Almost
other than
looked like she was wearing a nun's habit.
yeah, I actually think the color of this book is really muted, and I think that helped me enjoy the book more. Like I liked his choice of colors. It wasn't what I was expecting or what I thought Star Wars should look like, but it just for some reason, and back then for sure I felt this way. Like I don't think my opinion has changed on it. I'm pretty sure I liked it then, and then I still like his art now. What do you think of it?
Yeah, right, spot on. Not to super elaborate on it.
Please elaborate.
Please elaborate.
I'll add that in.
Please elaborate.
Thanks for that.
Yeah, a nice little callback. But there was, his style and the coloring, and there was mood in the coloring. One of the things that separates Star Wars from Star Trek is the lived-in quality. These things are used. These things have a history. Boba Fett's ship, it's all, beat up. It's, none of these vehicles or any of these ships look as if they're right off the assembly line. They're all weathered. They're all worn. Things are just in bad condition. It's just a lived-in world. And this guy's art, Cam Kennedy's art, I'm assuming it's a guy. The name Cam, I can't, no guarantees, but it just has a great presence to it. I like the fact that the shadows that you normally would have just filled in with black were always kind of like, no, we're going to use kind of a darkish, but not completely dark blue. And so it kind of left a lot of like hollow-y feels to some of these areas where it's like, that should have been just jet black, but it gave it, there was color there instead of black. So it didn't feel, it was more evocative and more of a mood that was being conveyed. And there's a lot of like watercolor with denatured alcohol and just beautiful stuff in there. And it was kind of interesting because there was a lot, when Carmine Infantino did Star Wars comics, when it was with Marvel, back in the 70s and 80s. There's a lot that it felt somewhat like that, because Carmine's art at that time had, and I can call him Carmine, we're on a first name basis, but Carmine Infantino's art was such that it was very, very, very stylized. So Star Wars already kind of had a precedent for having kind of interesting approaches to their universe. So I was really digging this art. And it gave, especially with his ship designs, because there were so many new types of vessels introduced in this series that I was like, man, this is great. Love every bit of it.
Yep, I like his Slave 2 Boba Fett ship. That was pretty cool. Cam Kennedy is Scottish and did 7 years in France learning to paint. And he painted all this, right? I'm not wrong in that? This is all paint?
No. He did the art. He did like in my trade paperback, it just says art. There was not like a differentiation between pencil, inks, color. It just says art. Yeah, that Eclipse vehicle, I thought, holy crap, that's a brilliant design. Because it was always like that, what was called like the Executor or whatever it was, that was like the Super Star Destroyer that was Darth Vader's ship. This thing comes into existence and it's like, dang.
There's always a bigger ship.
But it also kind of like, and I don't know if this is just me, recalling, cartoons that I loved as a kid. And one was in the States, it was called Star Blazers. It was the space battleship Yamato. But there's like that wave motion cannon that was out of the front of that big ship in that cartoon. And this kind of reminded me of that to a degree.
Yeah.
Just a wave motion cannon. Anything that was mechanical, anything that was robot or vehicles or weaponry or just amazingly well done. His Admiral Akbar is probably the single best person I've seen anybody draw that character.
Right, yeah. His neon numb's pretty good, too.
Sorry to kind of dive right into some of the aspects, but I think his art was the most distinctive right out of the gates. Before we even talking about the story, before we talking about the premise, I felt as if Cam Kennedy's art was probably the biggest point. Granted, there's some, pivotal moments in the story and so forth, and we'll get into that, but I just was floored by the art. I was like, I wonder where Andy sits on this whole, is it Star Wars? Is it not Star Wars? Does Star Wars need a little bit more gloss, a little bit more like the likeness has to be spot on? That needs to look like Mark Hamill. That needs to look like Harrison Ford.
Nope, I don't think that at all. And I think, like you said, his art captured what I wanted out of a Star Wars comic. It had so much innovation and new stuff, and it just sang, like, I loved his new character designs, like we get into Han Solo's background, and they were cool and mysterious, and his technology was so good. I just can't get enough of that art. And now we've had some conversations, art versus story. We love Jim Starlin, and we hated Mike Mignola.
Yeah, of course. I remember all of those.
That deep conversation we had about how great Jim Starlin was, and then Mike Mignola just never lived up to his name.
No. Yeah, Chris Sprouse couldn't figure out what he was doing. Yeah.
Right, couldn't draw anything to save his life. I mean, come on.
Yeah. April Fool's is just right around. Right. This is come and gone, right?
Yeah, nonsense. But this, what I would say, is the same vein as those two. As good as the story is, and we can talk about whether this story is as good, but the art really just made it what it was. Like, they could have been a lesser story, like Jim Starlin does, and then the art still and the coloring, it just brought the book out and made it what it was. And I think this Cam Kennedy art fits that bill.
Yeah, it really converted it from being, this is true artwork. This is, this is an artist and not a technician. There's some, like Jim Lee. I remember going to San Diego Comic-Con, and Jim Lee was giving a demonstration on how he would draw a face. And he quite literally broke it down by math. And that was amongst the most disappointing things I'd ever seen. It was just like, well, I look at these things as angular planes on a person's face, and that's how I determine where I do the hatches and how deep the hatches go.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh.
And that's why everybody looks the same.
Yeah. Where this is like, holy smokes, this is art. I mean, the guy, like, he used so many different tools, different techniques, different approaches. The coloring was somewhat arbitrary, but then he used different watercolors here or there to just kind of punch something up. The lighting. I mean, there was just angles and everything about it. So many pages that were full pages, so you got this big sense of the scale. That's what made Star Wars. Star Wars is the scale. Ships.
Star Destroyer going across the screen, and then you see the Princess Leia's Tantive 4, just so small, and there's this huge Star Destroyer. Like, scale was a big part of that movie.
Cam Kennedy was able to capture that by using like full pages, full 2-page spread. I mean, it opens up with that giant, and to dive into the comic a little bit, it kind of opens up with this big battle on Coruscant. And that's a 2-page spread of just these AT-ATs or AT-ATs versus, this civil war that's erupted. And that 2-page spread, just you feel like you can hear the laser, blaster fire and the, the sound of the,
pew, 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 pew.
Yeah. Everybody's running out to their telephone wires and tapping them with a wrench. You hear that. Pew, 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 pew. Yeah, what was it? Ben Burt, I think, was the guy who was doing all the sound design for Star Wars.
Genius.
So
when I was reading this, and I didn't realize back then how much this story was just made into a film by J.J. Abrams. The last Star Wars movie that came out. It borrowed a lot from this story, so much so, that I hope they got some money for it because it was a lot of plagiarism there.
Well, I mean, you think about that last mess of a movie, The Rise of Skywalker. They had a different director at one point. The director kind of botched a couple of movies and lost Disney's favor. Jar Jar Abrams comes back and has to cobble together a third movie without any sort of plan and very limited time. And obviously the biggest problem with the sequels was
there
that they
no
had no idea
plan?
what they were doing.
Yeah.
There was no plan at all.
Yeah, can you imagine going and filming 3 films after the successful 2 sets of prequels? I mean, you could argue success, but they were pretty successful. And then just pitching 3 more movies and not having a game plan between movies or anything like that. I mean, like, if you want to talk about a total botch of something so important to so many people, it would be this last trilogy. It's so disappointing.
Ooh, where do we go?
You know where they went? They went to Dark Empire to finish off the series.
Yeah, exactly. They found something that was, and they were probably thinking, like, that's going so far back, no one will remember what happened. No one will recall that Dark Empire covered this entire storyline, and it is shocking.
Yeah, and they did it better.
Shocking.
Dark Empire did it better because they didn't make Luke a whiny and they didn't make Luke a whiny wimp. They made Luke in Dark Empire to actually be threatening and a Jedi Master and showed his powers. They used some of his powers in this book in the movies because it was such a good idea. So
yeah, I mean, and it kept the focus on the main 3 characters. Han and Leia have a relationship where the sequel trilogy comes back and says, no, they no longer have a relationship. Luke is somebody to be feared, as well as like his power level is increasing and natural direction for him, as opposed to he goes into hiding. They did a good job with these characters, and you felt like this is where the characters should have gone on their heroic journey. Han lost the Millennium Falcon.
Why would Han ever lose the Millennium Falcon? Like, how would that even happen? I mean, more than like an issue or 2, and then he gets it back. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a story plot, but not as I lost it 5 years ago. And I've read the Timothy Zahn books, and then this one, and then every other novel that came out afterwards, probably for the next 20 years before Disney bought Star Wars, and then they made all those books non-canon. And there was some hit and misses. But they were all kind of flowed in together and used each other's backgrounds, and you'd see different characters show up again later. And they did a really good job with the novels and the comics from Dark Horse to kind of mix and match. And I enjoyed most of the books. I mean, there's, every once in a while you'd come up with one that's like, oh, well, that wasn't very good. But for the most part, like, I was totally into all that Star Wars. And then when Disney bought it, not that I blame Disney necessarily. I mean, it's all their fault, but, they rebooted basically, just like our Star Trek. They rebooted, and I have not read a single novel since then based on Star Wars. So I'm not sure. I've read some of the Marvel comics, and they're pretty good. I enjoyed them, but for some reason I just can't get back to the novels once everything I've read for the last 20 years was non-canon suddenly. It's like, okay, I'm good. And like every Star Wars movie, there are parts of the new ones that I liked. It's just the overall storyline was non-existent.
Whereas this Dark Empire, a single writer, Tom Veitch, or however you want to pronounce his name, and then with Cam Kennedy doing the visuals, did a entire, like, what the sequels could have been. And you could see where a lot of it got lifted in order to make the final sequel.
Yeah, we're going to spoil this, both the movies and the book. So if you haven't read or watched or know anything about Star Wars, too bad. They swiped things from Dark Empire. The most obvious was clone of the Emperor cloning. Now, I don't think it was too over the top to think that maybe he had clone bodies. So I almost give it to them that they didn't steal it. It was just an idea that it's logical, in that kind of universe. But they definitely used Luke Skywalker's ability to make illusions and all this stuff. It didn't seem original. I guess if you had seen the movie first and then read this, you would think, oh, did this just come out, this book? But in 1991, they predicted, some scenes of this new movie from a couple years ago. And it's just amazing how right it felt for the book and how wrong it felt for the movie.
I mean, even down to like Starkiller Planet versus World Devastators is a new take on the Death Star. It wasn't the Death Star coming back, but it was a new world-destroying apparatus. Leia's powers in the Force growing stronger and stronger.
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
At least she didn't do the Space Mary Poppins.
Yeah, they made Leia like a Skywalker. They made her in Dark Empire. They made her actually embrace the abilities of a Jedi, and it made sense that she was training, even if it wasn't a full-time thing. And even the books later on that were canon and aren't now, they had her train somewhat, but never fully embrace it. She eventually went back into the political climate, and that kind of took up most of her time. But it was kind of neat that they focused on her abilities a little bit, and that she could hold her own for some of it. She obviously had a lot to go. The book took place 6 years after the Battle of Endor. So for the last 6 years, the basic summary of this was the Imperials basically imploded after the Emperor died and were fighting civil war with each other. After 6 years of battle, the New Republic had been gaining ground. But then a mysterious leader, like the rumor of this leader that was banding all these Imperial fragments back together again, was rumored to be around, and so they were trying to discover the identity of this person, and it turns out to be the Emperor, just like the last movie. But in here, it felt very natural, not a gimmick, probably because, they didn't wait to the last movie to decide this idea.
And it was alluded to. I mean, they constantly kept saying, like, there's some dark force, something in the Force that's, reuniting, and it's what would be a dark side of the Force is trying to rebuild the Empire. And then it's like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Versus, oh, yeah, Snoke was a clone that wasn't perfected. And
right.
One other thing that was something that was definitely lifted whole cloth from this book series into was that, the Emperor was building all these vessels and these ships in secret in a remote planet and was rebuilding his power base on this hidden world.
I'm not sure if this is the first mention of the holocrons, but I'm pretty sure it is. If it's not, it's the first mention. Hadn't happened very often. The holocrons with the Jedi lore and stuff like that. I thought that was pretty neat. And of course, they use that later on in different areas of Star Wars. I like that the love interest of Han and Leia had continued, and they had children, and she was pregnant with a third, and I loved all of that little aspects.
Was it their first kid? Because it kind of like it jumps a little bit. Because it's like, it sounds like it's their first, but then it's like, no, it's their third.
Yeah, it's their third. Yeah, they had Jaina
twins first,
and Jason. Yeah, were the first two, and then this one was Anakin.
So I mean, there's some great sequences to kind of dive into a little bit of the story that Luke makes an appearance. He's got, because of his hairdo, he comes across very Darth Vader-like because he's all done in silhouette. Has a mechanical hand that you see. Holy crap, Darth Vader's coming back, and then it's like, no, it's Luke.
Yeah,
that was kind of cool because it gave a little bit of a foreshadowing of like, oh, what's going to happen? What's going to happen to Luke? And then ultimately, just Luke standing against an AT-AT on his own, and he takes it down on his own.
Right, I love that.
That was fantastic, yeah. Because
that's how it should be done.
Yeah, it talks about the size matters not, that whole key line, but it also shows how evolved he is as a Jedi because like obviously in Empire he had to use his snow speeder and they couldn't take out one of these things and there's a whole squadron of snow speeders they couldn't take these things out.
Right. But
Here it's just him and he does it.
yep.
So I thought that was great.
Mm-hmm.
This Force, dark side of the Force wormhole thing, I not 100% sold on that. But
Yeah, it lost me there a little bit too. There's a couple things in there that I went, oh, okay, I didn't really like that. And that was certainly one of them. This force storm that Palpatine can create and suck everything through. It's like, well, if he could do that, then why didn't he do that before, you know?
and the world devastators or something like that, but the new threat, and they go to the Mon Calamari or whatever the Calamar or whatever the planet's name is, and they start. I like the aspect of that. These things were not just there to destroy the planet. They actually suck up the resources of the planet and convert them into more weaponry.
Yeah.
I thought that was clever. It's kind of like, I mean, it was almost kind of green before green was popular. It was
Right.
like reduce, reuse, recycle. They were doing that on that planet.
Well, that Empire wasn't all bad.
Yeah, they were trying to be a little bit more, environmentally friendly by just draining it and repurposing things.
I liked how, when Luke was brought there, they had these Jedi techniques of energy shields and how they would get him in. Like, it was really well thought out. And then you could see Luke using some of his power, like, I'm here because I want to be here kind of thing. It's a nice balance of, okay, they know what they're doing and Luke knows what he's doing, and they're both showing off kind of a little bit. It was a great little story arc.
And I liked also the Emperor's guards, these giant, they must be at least 10 foot tall guards.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, why wouldn't, like if this cosmos has infinite number of beings, we've seen them in all shapes, but we haven't really seen them in all sizes.
Yeah.
For the most part, they're all between like 5 foot and 6 foot tall. They're just, human size.
Yeah. Right.
And then if there's something big like the Rancor, then that's the Rancor, but it's not like a sentient being per se. It's just a beast, the space worm and stuff like that. The big things are just these creatures, but these guards are like, that's intimidating even in a comic book. It's like, these things are huge.
And plot-wise, I mean, Luke realizes once he's kidnapped by the Emperor, like the Emperor wants him to join him, just like he had done his father before, and just like Darth had asked Luke before. Luke realizes that, in order to defeat you, I have to become like you or learn your ways or whatever. So I really liked the fact that, even at the end of, I think it was the end of the first issue, Luke accepts being the Emperor's, second in command or whatever, and then bows down. It was just really well done, kind of a cool beat.
And could you imagine if Force Awakens ended on that? I mean, like, people would still be talking about it to this day. It's like, what? I mean, because I remember when in Empire, when that movie came out, and Darth Vader's like, Obi-Wan never told you what happened to your father. And he told me enough. That kind of his whininess at that point.
That's impossible. That's not true.
Was something we all talked about until Return of the Jedi like confirmed it. Because like, I think Darth Vader's lying to him.
He lied to him.
I think, it's like all this stuff is like, it led to conversations afterwards because it ended on a pivotal moment. And it's like, holy crap. And then if Force Awakens ended with, Luke turning himself over to the dark side, it's like, what? It's like, did he really turn himself over? Or do you think he's got a bigger plan? I don't know. And then we would have talked about that for a couple of years until the next movie came out to explain it. And it's like, to me, that single moment, that him like, yes, my father's destiny is my own. It's like, oh, no way.
Right,
this is amazing. None of that happened. No revelations happened in any of the sequel movies.
Well, no, because she already knew what she was doing.
Oh, she was the best at birth. She was able to do everything possible.
Right.
Right out of the womb.
Oh, hi, Kylo Ren. You practiced for years and years with your lightsaber. Let me pick up this strange lightsaber's laser sword. And oh, wow, I just kicked your butt with it. Ha ha.
Yep, what do you do, Mary Sue? And then, Leia's wrap her head around this potential betrayal by her own brother.
Really like that
And
dynamic where they talk about the brother and the sister. And, they go back to the twins theory where if I can't have you join me, I'm going to have you join me. And I really like how they hit that beat again. And Leia was concerned about her brother. And this book, I mean, like we talked about Cam Kennedy's art, but I think Mr. Veach, his writing actually was really good too. Like I think they complemented each other a lot.
it's well paced. I mean, I did like them flying over Coruscant at some point here, and then, it shows the Millennium fucking flying through, but there's remnants of the Slave One destroyed. That kind of gives you a precursor of there might be somebody on this planet that we may not already know is there.
Right, yeah, I like that too. That's pretty cool. I like the running gag of Lando and was it Wedge? I think they kept destroying the stolen Star Destroyers that they
One
get.
after another.
Yeah, that's like I don't think I caught that the first time I read it back when it first came
That's
out.
where,
Yeah, how they kept crashing the Star Destroyer. Like, oh, I guess I'm not meant to be a starship commander. A Star Destroyer captain. That was pretty funny, and it's pretty subtle too, because I mean they don't do it for a laugh really in the book. It's not paced that way, but. They keep bringing it up. I was like, well, I've just crashed another one. So maybe we should do something else.
And it's great. I mean, there are there's definite tropes in any Star Wars adventure. I mean, there's I've got a bad feeling about this. That's in every movie. They say it at least once. They say it in this book. Never tell me the odds. They say that in the series. That there's C-3PO's propensity towards the odds of this is 3 billion to 1. Those are moments that you kind of almost come to expect. There is a sequence I can't quite figure out when they do get to this smuggler's planet. Han and Leia and Chewie and 3PO. They meet up with Han's old girlfriend, which is great. It gives a little bit more, and you had mentioned it as well as this backstory to Han.
Yeah.
We didn't need Solo to say oh, how many people are flying with you? No, it's just me. I'm alone. Oh,
I'm
so you're
solo.
Solo.
Yeah. It is interesting that they picked a similar character to be a love interest in Solo too than they did in Dark Empire. That they even had a similar character in both. They stole from it all from Dark. It all goes back to Dark Empire.
Man, this dude needs to go get some lawyers if he hasn't already.
But yeah, I love that it got into Han Solo's background, and we didn't know anything about him really, and we knew he was wanted by the Hutt, and that's about it. And suddenly, he's got a ex-girlfriend, and he used to live in this apartment on this place, and he has all these friends. I love that aspect of it. It's not all just about Chewbacca. He's got this big old history that he roamed the galaxy. He became Han Solo through all these adventures that are untold.
But this haggard old woman, this beggar, trying to figure out what was that aspect. I couldn't figure out was it just, obviously it was...
It's a fallen Jedi.
Yeah. Okay.
She was a fallen Jedi. She's brought up again later in a different series, I believe. She had fallen from the Jedi Order before the Purge, before the Order 66. So she survived it. She was no longer a Jedi, so they didn't hunt her down. She had done an evil thing in the past, I think, or her sister, or I don't know. There is some history, but nothing described in this 6-issue series. But
okay, yeah, because there was kind of a mixed bag with her, and there's a little bit of me where it's I'd like a little bit to go oh, okay, who was this and why? But then another part of me is going, I'm kind of glad that I don't know. It leaves those elements of that. This is a bigger world. You don't have to know everything that's going on. Accept the story and accept where it's heading, and then just go from there. But
yeah, they only tell you what you need to know.
Yeah, exactly. And from their perspective, that's all it needed. There could be more to it, but you don't need to know it. It doesn't, deviating the story arc in order to explain this person's backstory. It's just they were there when needed. and then we're moving on. It was good to see in this, as well as, they brought him back obviously in The Mandalorian, but Boba Fett makes his appearance. And it's like, yes, and I like this Boba Fett.
Yeah.
I don't like Disney's Boba Fett. I like this Boba Fett.
Yeah, he's still mysterious. And how did you survive the Sarlacc? It found me indigestible, yeah. And that was it. Like, that's all the explanation you need. He survived it. I don't need anything else for it.
Resilient, resourceful. He does what he needs to do. He doesn't need this whole cadre of backup assistants and out of context punk kids.
Yeah, suddenly this solo bounty hunter needs an entourage of people and wants to rule a crime lord. That's why? What? Makes no sense.
On a planet that was supposed to be far from the center of all the action, according to Luke, everything happens on that planet.
Right? We got to keep going back to Tatooine. Yeah. It's the sand. It gets in everything.
It gets into everything. It gets into all the movies. It's so annoying. It's carried everywhere. But I did like that visual of like Luke being the commander of the fleet. And there's that scene of him basically stretching out his hand and all these ships kind of come out. And it's like, oh, dang, this is amazing. And they introduce these new type of TIE fighters.
Yeah,
again,
those are cool.
Great industrial design by Ken Kennedy, and just the vehicle, ships, everything about it's great. The battle between Boba Fett and the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah, even the space battles that Cam Kennedy does. I'm sure space battles on the comic page is never going to be remarkable like a movie. There's nothing that you can do on a page that's going to blow you away like a movie will, with motion and sound and stuff like that. But Cam Kennedy's art really captures the feeling of it, the mass of it, the immense firepower and all the explosions and just his technical layout of it. Really did a good job in explaining without trying to be too dramatic for dramatic's sake.
Definitely put the Star Wars into things. I thought that was great.
The Star Wars.
Nothing but Star Wars. Bill Murray. That was such great. The lounge singer with the Star Wars. Yeah, and then the battle with Leia and the Emperor was good. Luke kind of doing his, I'm just standing by the side. Kind of what Darth Vader did. So there's a lot of that, echoing back and forth of what was happening in Return of the Jedi. It gets echoed here. Introduced the 1,000-year prophecy.
Right.
A little contrived.
Yeah, I was going to mention that little poem that she did. You're destined because 1,000 years ago, my mother said this to me. And it's like, really? Was that necessary? I call BS.
Yeah. I mean, there's something about the generic aspect of the chosen one. That's acceptable. That's right. A little bit more tolerable because it
is it though
wide.
Read
tolerable.
Let's bring up the Dresden Files again. Why does Harry Dresden have to be the chosen one? The star bright. Why can't he just be a wizard that gets his butt kicked all the time? Instead, he's got to be special. Why can't a character, Harry Potter, he's special, and Luke Skywalker, he's a chosen one. Yeah,
you bring balance to the Force. You were the chosen one.
I've got the high ground.
Crap.
So the new Obi-Wan TV show, every time they fight, if you see just Obi-Wan jumping up on a hill or anything, he's going to win.
No matter what. He just stands on a soapbox. Oh, crap.
That's right.
He stands on a chair. I got the high ground.
You're an inch taller than me. Dang it.
Yeah, he's wearing heels. Stiletto heels.
Before, I was but the learner, but now I am the master. I have the high ground.
See, and that's, again, a whole nother thing. It's that was a pivotal line in the movie. It's it shows that these two have not encountered each other since the last time they met. Meaning he was a learner, so he was the Padawan, and now he is the master, so he's finally gotten to a level. But to have Hayden Christensen show up and encounter Obi-Wan again, it's like, okay, didn't Obi-Wan go into hiding to make certain he wasn't? And then,
Yeah, he went into hiding
you?
and then never changed Luke's last name from Skywalker, and then he kept the name Obi-Wan. He kept Kenobi.
Ben?
Yeah, right. It's like, I'm in hiding. They'll never look at me in Tatooine, where everything happens. There's some stretches of Star Wars you just have to nod and go, yeah, that's true. Okay, whatever,
We'll let that slide.
Right.
In order to see a cool lightsaber battle? Okay.
Right. There's parts of every Star Wars movie that I don't enjoy, or I think, okay, whatever. But, it's still a Star Wars. Even The Last Jedi, which I think is the worst movie of the 9, I enjoyed some parts of it. The new characters I didn't hate. They were just not fleshed out enough. And if you look back at Luke and whatever, they weren't really that fleshed out either, but you got to know them a little better. But I mean, the new character, I didn't mind Finn, his former stormtrooper. That was kind of a neat little thing. And Rey, if she was handled a little slightly different, it didn't bother me that she became a Jedi or whatever. But Poe was really two-dimensional, and they could have done a lot more with him. But Finn, I got the short change too. They didn't do anything with him. It was all Rey, and just nothing ever blossomed beyond a two-dimensional character. And that's why I hate Star Wars.
I think what's the most irksome about it and why it is, not that we're diehard fanboys that are like, that's not my Star Wars. I'm not going to buy any of these toys because they're not fun. I don't like any of these characters. And to me, it was never really that per se. It was more like the potential, what it could have been. Anything was possible. But then we got these movies.
They had how many years to plan this out?
Yeah, and ultimately it was just kind of for nothing, because it just wasn't. We're holding in our hands some of that potential. This is Dark Empire 1. It head and shoulders above any of those 3 movies.
Yep. You were talking about things you didn't like about Dark Empire, like the prophecy or whatever. I am torn on these giant probe robots that are guarding the shipyard. If they could animate huge droids like that, bigger than a lot of those ships, why wouldn't they use more of those? It's like you have these huge robots, like giant droid who, was security. Yeah. And it's like, okay, I'm not sure I buy that, that there's this huge, It reminds me of the Jetsons and, the army droid robot, Mr. Uniblab or whatever his name is, it's like, and how he goes around and bosses everybody, but it kind of reminded me of that.
So, Leia returns, and then this is where more about the cloning kind of kicks in, and they talk a little bit about the Clone Wars, which I thought was a nice little, like, oh yeah, that line, kind of a throwaway line in A New Hope, where it's like, yeah, your father, and he fought in the Clone Wars. Are you in the Clone Wars?
No, he was a pilot on a freighter.
The force projection that, good, we're on the ship, let's go. And it turns out that Luke was just force projecting a hologram basically of himself on the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
And nope, I'm still on this planet. I'm going to take out the Emperor. I just needed you guys to get out of here.
Right. You're safe.
So again, Rainn Wilson, you owe these guys some money.
And I did like that they imply that even though Luke went to the dark side, he was sabotaging a lot of it anyway. Even before Luke and Han, or Leia and Han came to rescue him, he was sabotaging some of the Devastators or some of the plans, some of the vessels. So he wasn't,
True.
You could kind of tell he wasn't all in and was working against him anyway. So you got that feeling. And then I like how they imply, or they don't imply, the Emperor says, I can go into anybody I want, and, you're carrying this baby Leia, Leia, not your baby Leia, but you're carrying this baby, and I'm going to enter that child's body, and then, I'll have many years of life left, because I guess using the dark side of the Force, which totally makes sense, why his body is malformed and everything like that. It uses up the body quicker, so he's got to change bodies, and it's just never right when he does transfer over. So I love that aspect of it.
It explains the pruniness, the constant pruniness of him. Because this is obviously before we saw that he was an ambassador from Naboo. It was like we only saw him always as this pruny old man. And it would explain why we only see him as this pruny old man. So the dark side of the Force corrupts the clone bodies. But if he were to have gotten into a new host, a non-clone body, then that body would survive longer and not be necessarily as nearly instantly
right. Yeah, that was great.
Ravaged by the dark side.
Yeah, I could have done without looking at the Emperor's new body naked. That whole scene where naked Palpatine and Luke duke it out. I'm not sure the movie would have had that scene. Maybe I would have liked it better. I'm sure the new one of the new sequels should have included that scene, and it would have been a lot more popular.
Well, you got to make certain when you edit, make certain you clearly enunciate the new scenes and not nude scenes.
The nude scenes.
Nude scenes in Star Wars.
Right.
Talk about the dark side of the Force.
See my light side.
Yeah, is that a lightsaber in your pocket? It is kind of cool because then it brings, Luke redeems himself. Obviously, he's learned what he could from the Emperor and is finally making his final stand against him. And it brings him back full around, and he's manipulating it. But it brings the Emperor back to being an equal adversary by throwing him into that younger body, so that it's not a clearly one-sided lightsaber battle. Because again, we didn't see, hopping around Yoda duking it out with a highly energized Palpatine like we did in the third movie.
Right. Or Palpatine take out 4 Jedi Masters in the matter of seconds, all that BS. It's one of the few things I don't like about Revenge of the Sith was Palpatine's ability to just, these are like the four best lightsaber wielders in the Jedi Order, and only Mace Windu can, survive more than 3 seconds with them. Come on, at least make it
much screen time.
Right? Yeah, at least make it a cool. I could see him winning, but at least make it a sport. A little bit.
It kind of ends almost on this prophecy, and the prophecy is like the vagueness of prophecies are what make prophecies viable. Right. But when it's like a brother and sister born to walk the sky, walk the sky. Why does it sound familiar? Somebody about skies and walking. Skywalkers.
Little did they know it was talking about Rey.
Yes. Yeah, that's why she called herself Skywalker at the end. Because even then it says only she can save the Skywalkers.
See, they even stole that from them. They didn't have an original idea between them. Where's the Empire getting all this money and equipment and metal for all these super large ships? I just don't get it. And then the book ends.
More in keeping with Star Wars than the Star Wars movies.
I'm pretty sure I enjoyed this book more than I read it the first time. Knowing what we got out of Star Wars, how much I appreciate this story more because of that. A new appreciation for the ideas done in 1991 and how well they executed it. Better than 30 years of advancement in technology and computer graphics for 3 movies that they just messed up. Yeah. Reading this again has made me want to go back and read the novels, which I no longer have, so I'm going to have to rebuy them, or library. But, this book has instilled in me that, you enjoyed Star Wars and reading Star Wars prior to these last 3 movies. And although I've enjoyed The Mandalorian, maybe not as much as everybody else, and I did like Solo, and there's some things I did like, and and I think my love for comics is similar to that too. And maybe that's the old man. The good old days were better than now. This does make me want to go back and reread earlier Star Wars novels, just like I stopped buying, except recently, new comics, and I go back and I read old comics and enjoy it.
I'm going back to the All-Star Superman. How great was that? And it showed everybody, all the naysayers that said, Superman, you can't do a good Superman story. He's too overpowered. And it's like, that All-Star Superman, I mean, I don't tear up over a comic book ever. But there were moments where it's like, dadgummit, this is a great story. This is, a moving tale that has been woven around Superman and handled correctly. And the same thing here with Star Wars is that these characters, these are relevant if handled correctly. And obviously the people that Disney employed know what they were doing and couldn't handle it correctly.
They don't know squat about Star Wars.
And I don't think, either you or I'm kind of putting words in your mouth here, but I don't think either of us are like, it's like, I hate Disney.
Right. Yeah. They had an opportunity and they just didn't follow through. Like, I mean, the example I have in my own life is my kids love Star Wars. Like, they grew up with it. Their old man loves it. And just these last 3 movies, they thought they were okay. And it was like, it was love, 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 love. And then, it's okay. And they like the Clone Wars cartoon, which is still one of my favorite cartoons. And there's lots of things that they still love. And we were watching all these new shows, but you could just tell, like, they got sucker punched with those movies, and it's just not quite as exciting as it used to be. So here's something I like to torture you with every couple episodes, and maybe this will have its own theme music. I don't know. I just sat down and wrote a list of books we've reviewed. And surprisingly, we've had 17 episodes. This is the 18th episode. But some of these are two-parters, so that's why it doesn't seem like we have a list of 18 books that we have read. I'm curious how you rank the events books that we have read. And I'm leaving off the George Perez Wonder Woman. I'm leaving off our one and dones. And I'm leaving off our Christmas episode.
The Batman was dressed up as Santa Claus.
I know that would be number 1 in your list. So I have a list of 8, and I want to know how you rank which one you like the best. Let's just cut right to it. So I have a list of Final Crisis, Tom Strong, Infinity Gauntlet, Cosmic Odyssey, All-Star Superman, Umbrella Academy, Secret Wars, and now Dark Empire. So if you want to take a second, and we'll edit for speed round wise, it'll cut right to it. But how would you rank them 1 through 8, 1 being the best? I ranked them too, so we're going to see how we match. Okay. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first on what we thought was number 8?
We'll probably align. I'm thinking we're probably going to align on quite a few of these.
Yeah, I think so too. So number 8. What do you think the worst series that we've read?
Infinity Gauntlet.
Yep, mine too. Number 8. Sorry, George Perez. I know your art was Ron gorgeous, and Ron Lim, but the story was just a honker.
One of the biggest box office blockbusters of all time is based off of one of the worst stories of all time.
Okay, so we agree on that one.
Number 7 is kind of a toss-up. So what do you think my number 7 would be?
Yeah, it is kind of a toss-up, isn't it? I'm not sure what you put for number 7. Let me tell you what I put. And this surprises me, I put Secret Wars as number 7.
Yeah, exactly. That was mine too.
And I loved it until we read it recently.
From the perviness throughout. Yeah. And the artwork that just flummoxed me. Mike Zeck knows what he's doing, but then there are segments where it's like, did the inker just kind of like fall asleep, or was it like, dude, this has got to go to publication tomorrow. You need to ink all the pages now. What, let me guess, your number 6 then would have to be my number 6 as well, at least in my opinion. I'm saying Cosmic Odyssey.
You're right. That was my number 6. You are correct. Although the art, if I had to rank just art, Mignola would be higher than that. But again,
Yeah.
Jim Starlin brought that book down. Number 5?
Yeah, we're now into like the nebulous middle where
Right.
things can kind of get muddled up a little bit.
And this might not match mine, but my number 5 is Umbrella Academy.
Oh, way off. Yeah, my number 5 was actually Final Crisis.
Okay.
I like the art, I like the story, but it felt rushed. Way too much going on. Way too many parts and pieces that were trying to be shoehorned in at the end, and it just...
Okay, number 4?
We might be on the same wavelength on this one. I'm saying this story, The Dark Empire, fits at number 4 for me.
Okay. Yes, that's what I put for number 4 too.
We are kind of in alignment. Grumpy
We're
old
close.
men. Our grumpiness, yeah, I mean, so far we're more than half of them, and we've only separated on one
Right.
so far. But
apparently I liked Final Crisis more than you because I put that at number 3.
yeah. See, I put Umbrella Academy at number 3.
Okay. All right.
So we literally switched spots.
Right.
Your number 3 was my number 5. My number 5 was your number 3.
Yeah. And I think for me, Final Crisis, as much as I hated the ending, I keep going back to how much more I enjoyed it than my original read. Like, that to me still comes across as Grant Morrison is such a good writer that I can't judge him just on that last issue. And I had fun reading that one. I think that one, comes to how much fun I had reading Final Crisis.
Number 2,
I think we're going to agree from now on. That's just my opinion, but go ahead.
Yeah, number 2 is Tom Strong from...
What? Oh, we disagreed. See, you have Tom Strong 2. I have it as my number 1, which means All-Star Superman is my number 2. Interesting.
And I knew that your number 2, that Superman would be your number 2. My hang-up was it's the emotional impact that Superman had that made it override the Tom Strong, and you just see his struggle, even though he's Superman and he's souped up Superman, there's that struggle that he had. And Tom Strong was great, and there were moments of levity, there were moments of humor, there was moments of engaging stories and so forth, but it didn't have that emotional gut punch to me that the All-Star Superman, and that's what, like I said, they are neck and neck, but it was just perfection versus perfection, and the human aspect of the Superman was what topped that one off for me.
Yeah. What universe am I living in that you picked a Superman, my favorite character, as the number 1, and I picked it as number 2 simply because Tom Strong, in my opinion, was perfection, and I didn't like how All-Star Superman ended. I mean, that's the only reason I didn't pick that. Like, there's so many good issues in that All-Star Superman that I think were better than any issue of Tom Strong. But I think because there's a couple issues I didn't like, and I loved every minute of Tom Strong to me is going to be hard to beat. Well said. If you like our review of All-Star Superman, except...
No, if Superman got a lightsaber.
Right.
Can you imagine?
So if you want to hear more Star Wars talk or Superman talk, please let us know. We have a Gmail and this is why I love comics @gmail.com. For Pete's sake, join the Facebook group, and this is why I love comics podcast. We will tell you all the things coming up. Please join the group. Use that resource. Eventually, I want to add some group exclusive content on there, but not quite yet. We are on the Twitter. Join us there. I usually post new podcast episodes there first. I don't know what we're going to talk about next because we haven't talked about it, but I'm sure it'll be good. Thanks for listening. We really appreciate it. Tell a friend. Give us a 5-star review if you feel inclined to do so. And this is why I love comics. I'm Andy.
I'm Mike.
And we'll Thunder Chicken the outro here. Thanks, Thunder Chicken, for the music. And give them a listen on Spotify. And I think
What
that's...
if Thunder Chicken had a lightsaber?
Ooh, they'd kick some butt. Yeah, we need to clone Thunder Chicken so that there's multiple Thunder Chickens with lightsabers. That's frightening.
6'7".
Right. 6'7" Kevin with a lightsaber? That's scary.
He can convert his lion costume into a Wookiee really easy.
All right, Kevin, do that, and we'll put a picture up on the Facebook page as soon as you do that.
Exactly. Might do a little photoshopping.
Right, yeah. We'll see what we can do. Everybody, we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Boom, chicka, boom, boom. Wait, that's the wrong Thunder Chicken.
Bing, bing, bing.
That's the wrong Thunder Chicken music.
Why don't you lick my cuts? Wounds like these go through my veins. Why don't you lick my cups? Go up and down my veins. What you want? Nobody. What you want? To use me? What you want? Nobody. You will rise, but someday.
I will kill him. I will. And then he just gets those bugged out eyes and
You don't have to turn on the red light.
yeah. I'm sending out an SOS to the space navigators.